All right, next up, we're going to bring up Taylor. Taylor believes that I'm actually wrong and that there are only two sexes and two genders and that it's not a social construct, but a biological reality. Let's find out if Taylor can substantiate these. Taylor, can I get your age and pronouns, please?
I am 20 years old, and for pronouns, you can just put he, him.
Okay, now, Taylor, you think I'm wrong about sex and gender. What specifically am I wrong about?
Well, I just have one main question for you. If a man can become a woman or identify as a woman, can a white man identify as a black man?
I love the red herring, but I'll answer the red herring. But I love it. Race
It
and
is
gender.
not a red herring.
It is. Race and gender are not social constructs built similarly. Gender would be an internal classification of the self based on brain structures, and furthermore, race is an external classification placed upon you by a legal system used and born from a system of oppression and hierarchy. So yeah, they're not remotely the same. So I don't know why I would say one person can be something just because someone can be the other. That'd be like saying, well, if love exists and hatred exists, could I say that like loving someone means I can hate them? Like, they're two social constructs that are not born the same. So no. Just like money is a social construct, but I can't come up here and say that my $1 bill is actually a $100 bill, right? It's not the same.
Well, yes, because that would defy reality.
Reality, money is a social construct.
Yes. Wait. So you're saying if I have a $50 bill, it just doesn't exist?
Nope. I'm saying the value of money is socially constructed. The value of money doesn't exist. It only exists relative to the society or structures you're in. That inherently makes it a social construct.
Well,
if America goes away,
standard
tomorrow, the value of gold would still be relative to the society you live in. Like, come on, bro. If America fell tomorrow, if all governments fell and all systems fell, and we were in fucking The Walking Dead, and you had a pound of gold, that gold is worthless. It has zero worth because the worth of any value placed on currency is determined by the society. My G, come on. You're better than this.
Okay, yes, that's correct. But okay, I'm not here to debate like money or capitalism or any of that. But So you do agree that race is a social construct, correct?
Yes, race is a social construct. Yes, race only exists in relation to societies. Yep.
Okay, so then what is preventing a white man from identifying as a black man or vice versa?
I already answered this when I answered the question the first time. Race is not an internal classification on how you feel on a fucking neurological level. Race is an external classification placed upon you legally based on shared ancestry and phenotypes that typically correlate to some history of hierarchy and oppression.
Okay, but why can't I, as a white man, feel like a black man?
I just answered
what is preventing me from doing that?
Because there is no feeling like a black person. It's not a thing that exists. I'm black. I don't have some internal sense of being... Because it doesn't exist in our brains. What do you mean, why not? Why don't unicorns exist? Answer that question, and that'll be the exact same answer.
Because
how do I tell you why something doesn't exist? What?
Okay, so then if a white man can't identify as a black man, then why can a man identify as a woman?
So one, I don't believe men are identifying as women. I think women are identifying as women. And two, the reason why you can identify in relation to gender is because gender is an internal sense of self determined by the brain. We actually know that gender identity exists in our brain. There is a gender identity that exists inside of human brains. And that gender identity is an internal critique of the self. It's an internal subconscious critique of the way your sex is oriented in your body. We don't have this same mental process when it comes to race.
Okay, can you have this mental process when it comes to species?
No,
so can a man be a dog?
No, because that would be outside of the human qualia. You
Okay,
can
so so then
just to give you a more concrete answer, just because I know it'll just stave off future conversation. You can identify with traits of other things. Like you can say, hey, I empathize or identify with the way these things do X, Y, or Z. But qualia, which talks about the way creatures experience things, you can't actually experience that qualia. Gender, you can experience the qualia of another gender. Like it's a thing in psychology. Um, like I can say that I empathize or identify with certain features or cats, but I'm typically going to then humanize cats, right? I'm humanizing them so that I can align with these traits. So yeah, this is why you can't identify outside of your species.
wait, wait. So
I'd also just say
so
species isn't
you're
an
saying that a
identity.
man can so you're saying that a man can can do the same things that a female can. So can a
Nope.
man give birth?
Nope. Didn't say they can do. I said that you can when you're identifying with something, what it is when we're talking about like qualia is whether or not you can experience life in the way that this thing experiences life. Now, there's a larger conversation about how like species are biological realities based upon shared family traits, and so you can't really identify with values shared upon family traits like biologically. But this is why, like you're saying, well, can a man give birth? Some men can, because giving birth is a feature of being female, not a feature of being a man or a woman. And not all people that are female can even give birth. So if I have somebody who's female and can't give birth, are they automatically now not a woman or not female? No, that would be ridiculous to say.
No, a woman is someone who can produce small gametes or large gametes.
Well, that would be a feature of female, not woman. Because plenty of creatures produce large gametes, not just like humans. So saying that a woman is just anything that produces large gametes would mean that
A
dogs are
human
women.
being that produces large gametes.
Yep. So
That's a woman.
So you add a social well, not all human beings that produce large gametes are women, but now you add a social qualifier to it, which is the human side, which is where gender becomes a socially constructed thing, is because it only exists amongst human societies. It's not like a universal trait of nature that gender exists. Gender is specific to the way humans engage with each other.
Okay, so I'll make this clear. So then, if race is this thing that is constructed on the outside, then
Externally.
isn't the same thing true of gender? Because
No.
you have genitalia, you
It's
have
sex.
your, well, I guess genitalia is really the big one.
That's sex. Genitalia is a sexual feature, not a gendered feature. It just so happens that what typically we see in humans is that humans' genders typically tend to align with those sexual features, but some humans don't. Genitalia, internal or external genitalia, are a feature of sex. Specifically, they're phenotypic features of sex.
Okay. Okay, kind of off topic, but one other question for you. Would you date a trans woman
Is she thick?
or a trans man if you're gay?
Is she thick?
What?
Is she thick?
Sure.
Then why not?
She.
If she's thick, I mean, I might say probably not if she has a penis because I'm just not really into penises, but if she's thick, possibly. Probably not if she has a penis, but if she's thick and without a penis, why the fuck not? Who cares? I don't really care. But like, what does me dating them have to do with anything of the conversation?
Do you want to like have kids or anything?
No. Like biological kids? No. No, I don't.
Why not?
Just have never wanted to like spawn an offspring.
Oh.
Not something I care about.
Okay, well, that's your choice. You're probably going to be lonely and miserable, but
How does
you
that
do
make
you.
me lonely? Because I don't have kids? Well, I have kids, but I don't want like I don't want like biological kids. How does that make me like lonely? Like what? Like I have no issue with possibly
When
adopting or fostering or things like that. Like I have a child, right? But like I just don't want to have any more children in my life or things like that. Like who cares? What does that matter?
Okay, well, I support you having
What?
adopted children. I think that's good because we have a lot of kids in the adoption system that
What does
need
this have to do with
a
anything though?
home.
I'm so confused how this relates to the conversation that we were having.
It doesn't really have to do with anything. It's just
Okay.
I was just curious about whether or not you would date
Right.
a biological man despite being not gay.
Biological man is a term that doesn't exist. There is no man in biology. There's male.
Okay, a biological male.
Yeah, who cares? Like would I date somebody who's biologically male? Sure. What the fuck? Who cares? But what does it matter if I would or wouldn't? It doesn't mean
Because
anything.
then you would be gay.
Not if I'm dating a woman, I wouldn't be.
But you're not dating a woman, you're dating a man.
Male. You said male. Males can be women. This is the
Male,
problem.
man.
This is the problem
It's
with what's
essentially the
happening.
same thing.
You essentially want to skip over the actual conversation, which is are trans men and women, and you consistently conflate gender and sex. I don't conflate gender with sex. I know that they are not the same thing, right? Gender and sex are not the same. They have an alignment.
Okay, and just
they have a
because
connection.
you're wrong about something.
You want to bet? Define. Okay, let's prove if I'm wrong. Give me a functioning definition for sex and then a functioning definition for gender.
A functioning definition of sex would be just the way that you're born, not well, no, it would be about the gametes that you produce. So males produce small gametes and females produce large gametes.
That's not telling me what sex is. I'm asking for a fundamental definition. Hold on. When I'm asking for a fundamental like a functioning definition, a definition needs to be used to explain the concept. You didn't explain to me what sex is. What is sex?
Why do I? You already know what sex is. Why do I need to explain it to you?
Because you're saying that I'm wrong about this, but I don't think you could even functionally define sex and gender, right? So you're presupposing that I'm incorrect here, but I don't think you have an actual idea of what sex is or what gender is, especially in relation to how humans use the concepts, right? So if you think I'm wrong,
I can define it just fine.
So then do it.
Just say I'm wrong.
So then do it. Give me a functional definition of sex.
I just did.
No, you didn't define what the concept, a definition. If I said, hey, what's a car? And you just said something with 4 wheels, that doesn't tell me what the fuck a car is. Right? That doesn't tell me what this is. I'm asking, that's what you did. I said, what is sex? You said, well, it's about the gametes you produce, small being man, large being female. Like small being male, large being female. That doesn't tell me. Like if I said what's a fucking automobile, and you said, well, you can have a 6 wheel is a truck and a 4 wheel is a car. You're not telling me what an automobile is. I want a functioning definition of the concept of sex and then a functioning definition of the concept of gender, so we can analyze whether these two things in your mind are the exact same thing. We've already proved they're not, but we can dive it down even further if you want to.
Okay, so the definition of sex would be what? How do you define sex?
And this is what I'm saying. You said I was wrong, but you can't even define the concept, which is just like.
Well, yes, I know you're wrong. I just don't know how to explain it.
You know you're wrong, but can't articulate why you're right.
Okay, sex is defined as either of the two divisions designated male and female by which organisms are classified based on the basis of their reproductive organs and functions.
Great, and now give me a functioning definition of gender.
Well, gender is based on sex.
That's not a definition of the concept of gender. Just saying gender is based on sex. Driving is based on a car, but I didn't tell you what driving is when I define it that way. I'll give you time to type it into Google like you just did. Then you should be able to give me a
There
functioning
is
definition
no
of gender.
difference between gender and sex.
Okay, are all females women?
All human females
Then there is a
over
fucking
the age of
difference.
18.
Then there
Yes.
is a fucking difference between gender and sex. Because sex doesn't equate to gender. So provide a functioning definition of gender. You just said they're the same thing, and now we're saying that if I have a sex category, it doesn't automatically mean I have a gender category. So now give a functioning definition for gender.
They are functionally the same thing.
No, but functionally being the same thing and being the same thing are two different things entirely. Right? So I could say a car and motorcycle as driving vehicles will get me somewhere. They're functionally the same thing, but they have vast numbers of differences. So give me a functioning definition of gender. You can have time to Google it. I don't mind if you want to Google the definition like you did with sex, as long as you're saying this is a definition that you use and we can analyze it from there.
Okay, according to Google, it is either of the two divisions designated female and male by which most organisms are classified based on their reproductive organs and sex, otherwise known as sex.
That is,
it is the same definition.
Okay. Where are you getting that definition of gender from?
I just put it into DuckDuckGo.
Okay, you just put it into DuckDuckGo. Wonderful. So, say the definition one more time.
Either of the two divisions designated female and male by which most organisms are classified based on the basis of their reproductive organs and functions.
Great. Per that definition,
otherwise
female dogs are women.
Sex.
Per that definition, female dogs are women. Per that definition, a female ant is a woman.
Definition is leaving out the word human.
So yes, based upon that definition, gender is not a human-specific thing. So female dogs are women, female cats are women, a female shark is a woman, per that definition.
Well, they're women of that species, but they are not
other
human
species
women.
have women, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, they are that species equivalent of a woman.
I'm sorry, what was the definition of woman you told me? You said it's an adult human. So a woman can't be in another species.
An adult human who is capable or has the natural capacity of producing ova.
Woman can't exist in other species because a function of being a woman is being human. So no, there can't be women dogs because they wouldn't be human. Right? A functioning part of being a woman. No. I'm asking you, right? You're saying that gender and sex are the same per your definitions. Gender has nothing to do with being human. So the gender category of woman would apply to any creature that is female per the definition of gender you used. But it disagrees with your definition of woman. So try again, because we've just come to the conclusion that your definition of gender is an illogical one based on your definition of woman. So which one is incorrect? Is it your definition of gender or your definition of woman?
Well, under those, I guess maybe the definition of gender would be incorrect.
Okay, so let's analyze this.
My definition of woman is not incorrect.
Great. So let's analyze this. How should gender be defined? If it can't just be defined as the two sex categories, right? Because that makes it illogical. One, I would say this means gender and sex are not the same, right? Because you can't just define gender and sex the same. So, what is a functioning definition of gender that is able to differentiate from sex in a way that makes it so female dogs aren't women?
All right, there's another definition here on Google that's a grammatical category, often designated as male, female, or neutral, used in the classification of nouns, pronouns, adjectives, verbs that may be
that's
arbitrary.
More talking about that's talking about gendered language, right? Not all languages have like gender specific stuff. I'm more talking about the concept of gender in a broader, like, societal sense.
Or based on characteristics such as sex. That's another part of the definition.
Yeah, that would just put us again to female dogs being women. If it's just that it's based on the characteristics of
female
sex,
dogs are not women.
then we know that gender is not just. I won't say that there isn't some linking of gender and sex, and we don't refer to sex sometimes when talking about gender. But what I'm saying is, if gender just boils down to the features of sex, then all females would be women in that regard. Because woman is a gender term, which I think you would agree with, whereas female is a sex term. At least I hope you would agree with that.
I guess. Sure.
Okay. So then let me just to save us some time, let me just walk you through where we are right now. We recognize that when it comes to gender things are very specific to humans. Now, because they are specific to humans in human society, and they are not some biological universal trait of the world, they are indeed a social construct. They're something socially constructed. They're not something. Gender is not something that's like that exists in DNA, because if it existed in DNA, it would exist in all females or all males. It is specific to humans because we have now there are some arguments that some animals have gender roles or groups. We just don't know because we can't communicate with them in that way. So we can't really know for sure. But we know because we can communicate that gender is something that is socially and culturally determined, right? There's a reason why some cultures had more than just 2 gender categories you could fall into, right? Because it is
Which cultures?
The Hebrew culture in the what the fuck, in the Talmud has 8 or 7 or 8 gender categories. There are Polynesian cultures like that had like Fa'afafine, or I don't remember what the other one is. I'll have to look them up and add them to the new source document. Indigenous tribes have 3-spirit, which is a 3rd gender category for people that don't fit into their man and woman categories. Other cultures have other gender designations.
I don't know about
Two-spirit.
the Hebrew culture or the Polynesian thing, but I do know about the indigenous tribes thing. So that actually was made up in 1990 by a woman who said the concept came to her in a dream.
No, the term two-spirit was absolutely, but like the practice had existed for years. It goes like, you can even see it when you look at the spoken record of indigenous tribes. The practice of two-spirit. Yeah, I don't know why I said 3rd spirit, chat. I don't know. But the practice of two-spirit, it goes back so much further than the 90s. It goes back to ancient indigenous tribes. It's just we added the word two-spirit.
Which tribes?
Sure. Let me pull that up.
Okay, while you're pulling that up, I have the Oxford English Dictionary definition of woman. An adult female human being, the counterpart of man.
Sure. What's your point?
So the Oxford English Dictionary, one of the most trusted English sources in the world, says that you are wrong.
Well, okay. I don't think you know how dictionaries work. Dictionaries aren't prescriptive. So the dictionary saying that how you define a word is not saying that this is how a word must be defined. It's saying this is how the word is currently used colloquially. Oxford very much tells people all the time it's a descriptive dictionary, not a prescriptive dictionary. It just describes how we tend to use words. And I would agree that most people tend to use the word woman using that definition. I would agree with that. That's how most people tend to use the word. Doesn't label a point of correctness. That's why when I asked you for a definition, I didn't ask you for the dictionary one. I said, what is a functioning definition for this term based on the way you use it?
Okay. What other arguments can I make?
So yeah, so but either way, that even you giving the definition of woman still doesn't like address where the contention lies here, in that you're conflating gender and sex to be the same thing. So some tribes that have a history of two spirit separate of the term, like prior to the term, it'd be the Lakota tribes, the Zuni tribes, the Navajo, the Ojibwe tribes, the Cheyenne tribes, the Mojave tribes. Like all these tribes, documented well before the 1990s, had examples of two spirit as a gender category. They just didn't have the word two spirit. What two spirit as a word did is what it did is it said, hey, all these tribes have different third gender categories. Let's give an umbrella term to all of them, so we don't have to have individual, like a million individual terms to describe how these tribes acted. We just can give an umbrella term that describes it all.
Okay. I really don't know that much about the whole two spirit thing, so I'm not gonna try to debate that with you. But clearly I have not convinced you. You have not convinced me either, but
Wait, hold on.
don't think
I
we're
don't care
going
that I
to
haven't
be able to
convinced you. You have not been able to parlay any sort of argument that logically fits. So yeah, you can say we're going to agree to disagree, but like you haven't been able to give a logical argument. So like you're just disagreeing because it hurts your feelings, not because you have an argument against what I've been saying. You agreed that your definition of woman was incongruent with your definition of gender. You agreed that the definition of gender can't just be the same definition of sex. You agreed with all these things. And now you're, well, but you haven't changed my mind. Okay, great. But you haven't been able to articulate a good argument for why your mind should remain the way it is.
I'm not, you know, whatever. Okay. Clearly we're not going to be able to convince each other. So,
homie, you haven't given an argument.
Democrats...
You can convince me if you give a logical argument that makes sense, but you haven't. Come on, we have to be honest in this conversation.
Okay, completely different subject, but do you still believe that the Republicans are the ones causing the government shutdown?
Yes, because Republicans are the one who have the power to negotiate. Like if Republicans want the government not to be shut down, if they want the Democrats to vote with them, they have to negotiate. They refuse to negotiate, therefore the government is shut down because they don't have the votes they need. If their bill was so great, they would have the votes they need, but they don't. They just want to bypass the Democrats. There wasn't a single there was almost zero single policies put through by Joe Biden in which the Democrats didn't accept Republican opposition and accept Republicans' consolidation bills. The Republicans are refusing to. So yes, it is their fault the government is shut down. They could come to the table. Mike Johnson could come to the table and meet with the Democrats and come up with, and especially if they were just like, hey, we're going to extend the ACA subsidies, the Democrats would be like, oh great, bada bing, bada boom. I don't know what any of this is. I don't know why we're moving the topics, but yes,
okay.
It's the government's fault for the shutdown.
Okay, so then why are all of the Republicans voting to reopen the government?
Because a vote to reopen the government.
Democrats are voting no.
Wait, no. The Democrats aren't voting no to reopen the government. They're voting on the conciliation. And the Democrats don't want to lose the ACA subsidies. The Republicans want to get rid of them. I'll give you a direct example. If the ACA subsidies go away, my health insurance will go from costing me about $280 a month to damn near $2,000 a month, because I will not have access to the marketplace anymore, the government marketplace for health insurance. I think this is a bad thing for millions of Americans. So Democrats want to stop this from happening. And again, it's not just about voting to reopen the government. In order to reopen the government, they have to come to a concession on the budget. Like we can't just go into the next budget, into the next quarter, without the budget being approved and consolidated. So if Republicans want to get the budget passed, they have to meet with the Democrats and work together, because they don't have enough votes to get it passed without the Democrats.
Okay, and that same standard applies to the Democrats. The Democrats can also negotiate.
What is there to the Democrats are the ones trying to negotiate. They're saying we want to make sure these subsidies still exist. The current budget gets rid of the subsidies are expiring, and the current budget does not approve the reallocation of these subsidies. We're trying to negotiate those into terms, and the Republicans are saying, no, we want these subsidies to go away. This is a bad thing for millions of Americans. What should the Democrats just say? Yes, fuck
Okay,
Americans'
so
health insurance.
No. The health insurance thing I can understand. I can get behind the health insurance thing, but things
That's
like Section 8 housing or like food stamps or stuff like that, I don't
Food stamps are already
that needs
the Democrats
to
aren't
be
aren't pushing for a push on food stamps. They already lost that portion. The bill is going to remove food stamp funding. It's going to remove, I think it's 480 billion from food stamps, which is terrible because almost half of the people who receive food stamps are fucking kids. They're people under the age of 18. Now we're just taking food out of their mouths, but whatever. The thing the Democrats are fighting
so then their
for,
parents can feed them.
their parents get food stamps because they don't make enough to cover groceries and all of their other bills. But fuck those kids, am I right? It's the best way to go. Fuck them.
Firstly, there are other things other than food stamps.
Like what?
There is churches. There is
don't have the resources to feed
churches,
everybody.
There's food banks.
Don't have the resources to
all
feed
this
everybody.
Other stuff.
Food banks don't have the resources to feed every single person. Churches don't have the resources to feed every single person.
Sometimes do.
No, they don't. There's not a single food bank in the country that has the resources to feed everybody in the communities that they operate. There's not a single one. SNAP benefits are there to help people who need help. That's why the majority of people on SNAP benefits are working. Or the majority of people over 18 that are on SNAP benefits have jobs. They're paying into the system. Why should they not be able to use that system?
Because it's supposed to be a safety net, not a hammock.
It's not a hammock. If they're working jobs already, what percentage of people receiving SNAP benefits are unemployed? Do you know the answer to that question?
Not off the top of my head. I can.
What would you guess it is?
Probably like 20%.
You're so off. It's not even funny. You're not even close.
Okay, so what is it?
55%. 55% of SNAP households that have children in them have somebody in the house working. 55%.
So then 45% of people aren't working?
They might not be earning. They might not be earning an income. Yes, but again, if we're looking at SNAP as a program, SNAP is entirely beneficial. Why should people who don't have the ability to earn an income not get help? Especially when we know that when it comes to welfare, the majority of people who access welfare benefits, whether it be from unemployment or whatever, end up employed within a year's time. You're saying it's like this handout. It's not a handout.
Okay.
It's help.
Okay. And that is a good thing. So after they are employed, they should get off food stamps.
Most do. Most of the people who go on welfare, it's temporary until they find employment. But this is such a what you think it's okay that we remove?
Okay, and
food
yes,
from
that's
kids'
exactly
mouths
what
and
it's intended for. But there are so many people that aren't using it for that. There are so many people that are just sitting there.
No, there isn't. What percentage of people on SNAP do you think are disabled?
Well, I would prefer it to be most of them.
Mm-hmm.
And just because they're not disabled doesn't mean they can't sit there. I have seen multiple people that are just sitting there for no reason. Just because
I don't care what you've
lose their
seen,
government
right?
benefits.
What you have seen is not indicative of the numbers as a whole. You know that, right? Like
Yes,
what you've
that's
seen
called
is
anecdotal evidence.
yes. So that's all you're doing is anecdotal evidence. 19% of people who are on SNAP are over the age of 60. So they're probably not working anyway, and they're using SNAP as a supplement to their retirement because we don't even give them retirement even retirement isn't Social Security isn't funded properly. 39% of SNAP recipients are literal children, right? People under the age of 18. 79% of households that receive SNAP have either a child or elderly individual in it. So it's not even like SNAP is being used because of the person working. It's because there are people who need the extra help. Like, come on, man. If it were up to me, I
Okay,
would
and
get
if
rid of
they
SNAP and just
genuinely
give
need
everybody
the
food.
extra help, then I have no problem with that.
But they do. 73% of people who are on SNAP benefits, their gross monthly income is below the federal poverty level. 73%. They're on SNAP because they are in poverty. They're in abject poverty. So they're on SNAP.
So then get a second job.
Yes, that's so. Oh my God. Why didn't
Just
they think of that? Why didn't they
get a
think of
second
that?
job instead
What
of
the
stealing
fuck?
my
Holy
tax money.
shit. Holy shit. Why didn't I think of just get a second job? How much of your yearly tax income goes to SNAP? Do you know?
I do not know, but I didn't really pay that much in taxes last year because I barely made anything.
Holy shit.
And yet I'm not on food stamps.
Holy shit. My God. No fucking way. What?
Are you triggered yet?
Triggered? No, I just think you're kind of stupid. Like you're literally arguing from your.
You seem pretty triggered, my guy.
What the fuck are you talking about? You're arguing from bias, dude. Like it's not my fault you're making lazy arguments that comes from your own internal biases. If you want to call that triggered, call that triggered. You're just being more lazy in the arguments. Like what? God damn, dude. Can you make an argument that's not from a level of bias or no? Is that impossible for you? Because you did that during the trans conversation too.
Well, considering I've never been on food stamps, maybe not. But I do have friends who are on food stamps.
There we go. There we go. You can't do it.
Okay, well, I do have other stuff to do today, so I do have to go. But
That's
this
fine.
was a good debate. I really enjoyed this.
A good one is not a word I would use, but it was definitely a debate. Have a day. All right. Fucking Christ. Hey, thank you all for watching this video. If you don't know me, I'm Jovan Bradley. I'm a leftist content creator who does debates, political commentary, gaming, and more. If this is your first video, thanks for sticking to the end, and I hope you subscribe. I post videos daily, and there are hundreds of past debates on my page for you to enjoy. Thank you to all my YouTube members. Your continued support helps me create as much as I can. Consider joining. A membership starts at $2.99 and gets you access to our community Discord, early access to videos, and more. Shout out to my Tier 4 members, Red Fairy DF, Ellie McReady, Not 3.6R, Sylvia Snow, Paul D, Zurith Moonpaw, Kazim, Never Again, Bamji, Emery Imogene, Ayla Ursus, Call Me Vel, Kelsey K, Jake Gorshander, Matthew Holloway, Vampy, Yemye, Mealy, and Dragon Nerd. Your continued support goes a long way in helping me continue the fight for equity, justice, and education. Thank you again for watching.